volunteers are bringing that dream to life by serving throughout Chattanooga.
We want people to walk away with a sense of brotherly love, of community, of working in their own communities.
Karen McReynolds leading the charge of more than 1,000 volunteers and close to 50 service projects in the city. One of them, cleaning up the historic Beck Knob Cemetery.
Last 5 or 6 years, we've come back on board with trying to, regain and restore it.
This is the final resting place of hundreds of slaves smothered by debris.
I see a lot of sticks, a lot of logs, and a lot of rocks and leaves.
As more than 100 people like Steve Zabel give these headstones makeovers they hope will be permanent.
It just kind of humbles you a little bit, and you think about the histories that many of those people probably had.
Groups got dirty inside as well. Cleaning places like the Signal Centers, a place that serves nearly 200 children and adults, many of them with special needs. Chattanooga Mayor Andy Burke and others keeping that kitchen spick and span.
Not just today, it's every day you can work in your community.
Work that's highlighted today, but is necessary tomorrow and beyond.
It warms my heart to look at all of the different people, different walks of life. What a day to celebrate the dream and the dreamer, Martin Luther King Jr.
The program tonight, O King, is a celebration of the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. It seemed very important to have an event that would highlight these kinds of concerns and these kinds of efforts and the progress made, but also how far there is to go.
We have to celebrate Dr. King, and we want to open it up to the community to be involved. And we want this to grow every year. And that's why we have such a plethora of different representations of art to do just that.
It's a fantastic opportunity for these kids that I get to work with, who are mostly upper elementary, middle school age, to know that music making is something you can do for the rest of your life and the rest of your school time and far beyond, but also it's a cultural outlet, and so to be a part of that is a really important thing for us.
God desires to feel your love again.
I think that's important because everybody just needs some rekindling from time to time. Like, of course, everybody has different issues that they're dealing with, but sometimes you just need somebody to stoke that fire, and I think this program will do just that. I'm just excited to get on stage and just, hopefully people receive my message as well as I want them to.
We cannot grow as an institution and not do a better job of connecting with communities. So we are adamantly trying to find all types of ways to connect, and this is just one of many ways that we hope to do so.
Good time.
I tell you, I am just so proud. It makes me so much more aware of the impact of my father. You know him as a daughter, and working on the book, we learned a lot more about him, but then hearing from the perspective of so many different people today really gave, I think, all of us a better appreciation for the work that my father did for the community. We always appreciated him for the family, but for what he has done within the community and the impact of his work and his legacy. It's just more, than I can say.
Well, Mr. Matt fought for justice throughout his many decades here in Chattanooga, and to be part of naming this building and rededicating it now is just a tremendous honor. It was said really well tonight. Mr. Matt's name now literally drapes over the MLK street, and when you look at MLK Boulevard, you will forever think of his legacy, and I think that is entirely appropriate.
His wife was such an integral partner with him. When you saw James, you saw her. And she was an activist in her own way, but so eloquent and beautiful. We thought it would be befitting there, but she was such a good communicator, and we said that conference room will never be the same with her name on it, because everyone at that table will communicate. That's the kind of lady she was. We felt it was a befitting honor for her, and I was delighted when Chancellor Engel asked me to present that. I do want to say too, I want to thank Chancellor Steve Engel for his leadership here. When I first talked to him about renaming and repurposing the building, he was the biggest cheerleader to do that. So very new to the community, but he got it just like that, and he understands about engagement. This chancellor really embodies engagement, and he's helping the university live it out, not just in talk, but in action and in deeds, and this is one big evidence of that. Mr. Mapp was a giant of a man. He stood at the heart of every initiative to bring equal opportunity, equal treatment under the law to all people. He became the true moral compass of this community. The last words he told me was, "Richard, you must help others to finish the work." He knew that there were some things left to be done in this community. So today I think the naming of this street also helps us to start that process to finish the great work he started. May University Street, now James R. Mapp Street, serve as a gateway to education for all young people within this community.
Well, this honor today means to the family, I think, kind of a culmination of making sure that people see his legacy, and the fact that the street is right there next to the office where he worked out of for so many years, and that the community remember him for all the work, for all the dedication, for all the commitment that he had. So we truly appreciate this, along with the naming of the building, the naming of the street. It just all seems to come together. The fact that it intersects with MLK Boulevard, wow, that's huge.
I am thankful for the opportunity to sit and talk and have a chance to express myself about Dr. King and what he meant for my life and how he's influenced my life. He is, someone who has been profound in his words and his actions and all the things that he's done around helping people to see a peaceful, nonviolent way. For me, he was a person who inspired me first to even think about going to college and seeing that it was a possibility for someone who grew up in Memphis in a public housing project to be able to attend college and get a degree, first generation college student, single parent household, all of those things that say that I shouldn't have been able to do it. I was able to do it, and it's through his sacrifice, his selfless sacrifice, to ensure that I was able to have a better life and to be able to accomplish things that folks thought, perhaps I wouldn't be able to. And so it really led to the work that he did. Because of it, it really charged me to get active and involved. So when I talk to the folks in admissions, because I'm the chief admissions officer, chief enrollment officer for the campus, and then the chief student affairs officer for the campus. And so it's a mix of both wonderful, wonderful worlds that gives me sort of all things students in terms of engagement. So when I talk to the admissions folks, because I was a first generation college student, I talked to them about, let's set our process up so that first generation college students understand it. When it comes to the student affairs side and comes to student engagement and leadership and opportunities for students outside the classroom, it's an imperative that we give every student a holistic experience on the campus, just like I had when I was a student here. I was one to seek it out, but how do we get to those students who are not as type A as I am, who are willing to get out there and, search for opportunities to get involved? How do we make sure that they meet their leadership goals? And so our planning around this is, what's the expansive view? How do we have organizations that speak to every student on the campus so that they find their niche and they make a connection and they feel like they belong and that they want to be here? I think about all of the diversity of things that we have on the campus, and I think we still don't have enough. We still want to find ways for students to engage in a way that makes them comfortable on campus. We started, this is the second year of it, but 2 years ago we started a first gen program where we matched all of our first gen, a number of our first gen students up with a number of our first generation faculty and staff members who are on campus. And the basic premise is, it's not rocket science. The basic premise is to provide a mentoring relationship and provide a connection for those students, and to say to them, if I could do it as a first gen student and look at where I am, and I was able to finish, and so I understand the difficulty of getting a degree and what that means, and sometimes not having support at home or not having support that understands what you're going through. Connecting with someone who does has to be a powerful chance for our first generation students to feel connected. And so all of the programs that we do around student success and around activities and programming are intended to connect and to educate and to inspire and to give students a chance to develop as they go into their next role, whatever that is when they leave UTC. And so we want to inspire leaders to make a difference.
The system, as it is designed, is comfortable with you being comfortable with mediocrity, being regular. They cool with that. That's really the dream that Dr. King was fighting against. His dream was that this system would no longer predict in the same exact way that it had always predicted the fate of young people like you. Unfortunately, his dream has not been realized. When we have conversations about Dr. King, what we're talking about is this dream, this notion of freedom and equality, but what we don't understand is what that means in a practical sense. What equality means for you is that you have access to the same education and life that any other human being has, especially the wealthy ones. See, because where I'm from, the least should have the most. And how we get it ain't always the right way, but I'm here to tell you that on a day like this, where we're here to celebrate a man whose life was taken because he dared to challenge the system, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing in my life? Let's keep this simple. Mine is a goal simply to point out to you that if you make the decision, only you can make the decision, that you want to live it differently and you want your life to go differently than the people around you, even if they're doing well, but you want to do better even than they did, because a true dream that every single parent has, regardless of their circumstances, the truest dream is that you do better than they do. And so now, I, the kid who grew up in the projects, I, the one who have seen more bad things than I care, and who by graduate school made it to Ivy League, I'm sending my own son to the school that I went to. Folks, thank you so much for your time and attention. I genuinely appreciate you.
Doing this. Well, we haven't been strategic about what's the one or two things we want to attack. Dr. King knew there were so many issues, but he said first we can't talk about economic inequality if we can't even drink out the same water fountain. So first we got to address integration. Now I will say later, Dr. King said he feared he had integrated his people into a burning house. that the schools now, during integration, post-segregation, were more segregated when they were when segregation was legal. So perhaps his strategy wasn't all the way sound. But he took a risk, for the people that were there earlier today. He was willing to buck the status quo. But you have to pick something. And so much is happening in our world today. If we really want to be honest, we are being strategic about the ways we engage oftentimes, especially in our communities. We're doing this. Dr. King didn't do this. He picked this. He picked that. He grabbed this. He grabbed that. When he tried to grab on the poverty and the slums, though, that was something he never fully got his hands around. He was assassinated.
To my supporters and my many fans across the world, thank you for riding with me all these years and for always having my back. This is for you. Now at 44 years old, I like who I've become. I'm a man of conviction, a man of faith. I am a man of courage, courageous enough to choose Chattanooga over Canton. What I'm about to do next is a little unconventional, but hey, what's new? I'm gonna ask that you stand if this applies to you, and I want you to remain standing. If you've ever felt like an outcast, this is for you. If you've ever felt isolated, to everyone that has felt like giving up, who feels or felt overlooked, to everyone from small cities with big dreams, to everyone who has been bullied. If you're standing up, don't be afraid to be you. I celebrate and I empower you today. We have more commonalities than differences. This entire speech you thought was about me, Chattanooga, this is for you.
man, drop top. There go the cops. There go the cops. There go the cops. Is it because of my people? Is it because of my sneakers? Is it because of my jersey? Is it because it on perfect? Run down 85-3 in the morning. Why you put me up and say you smell marijuana?
If you could, do me a favor and give me some feedback. Like, I hear you, T. Talk to him. Say it again. Anything to let me know that you're into me. And if you disagree, then say boo, it's whack, put 2 thumbs down. Either way it go, I'ma feed off the energy. Dear Heavenly Father, forgive me. Because I'm about to kill these lines. But before I do that, I'ma heal these minds. And before I do that, I'ma rebuild these spines. See, a lot of people don't think for themselves, nor do they stand for anything. Hence the incorporation of minds and spines. My lines about as complex as mind science. No, I'm kidding. I do this strictly for fun. But when I get in my zone, I tend to shoot off. So people label me a son of a gun. I apologize. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Terrence Banks, and I consider myself a spoken word artist, and a lot of people may be thinking, sheesh, his intro the hardest. Not at all. I'm just getting started. So my mentor hit me up. Shout out Dr. Mo Baptiste. He said, T, can you perform a poem about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and what he means to you? Also, throw in a little civil rights in there too. So my wheels started turning because I knew exactly what I had to do. See, this won't be your average spoken word piece. Yes, I'm gonna talk about our achievements, but sensitive subjects, I'm going deep. Targeting that false woke group because they still sleep. We have to understand that mama's losing babies and they still weak. So I'm doing this for Mike Brown, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Trayvon Martin, and Philando Castile. But the fact that I gotta mention these names make me sick to my stomach still. Could you imagine if sweet tea and Skittles was your last meal? That's what Trayvon had to cling to before he was killed. It's inmates on death row who've gotten a way better deal. Or I could take it a few decades back and talk about the death of Emmett Till. But I'm gonna put Emmett on ice and let Emmett chill. See, that's the problem. A lot of people can't handle keeping it real. Inequalities are what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. lived and died for. But millennials' actions to the baby boomers, just an eyesore. See, I'm a millennial. And in my lifetime, I've seen the inauguration of President Barack, the gymnast Simone Biles land on top, reintroduction of black girls magic that can't be stopped, and we still having first black moments to this day that I pray don't flop. See, but being black is a unique experience, and a lot of civil rights activists have given their lives just to prove it. Huey P., Malcolm X, the Moore family. So it's a gift and not a curse. So don't confuse it. But we didn't have a choice in the matter. We didn't choose it. But it's a whole lot of culture vultures out here to whom we still losing. So let me get something off my chest because the weight's too heavy. Innocent lives lost to police officers because the aim too steady. The black man is a token on the Monopoly board. See, the game's too deadly. Zimmerman auctioned off the gun he used to kill Trayvon. See, the pain too steady. But society has the audacity to say that right now just isn't the right time. Well, I'll watch the clock while the majority is doing quite fine. Minorities are drowning in inequalities and nobody's tossing a lifeline. So yeah, I'm kneeling with Kaepernick. This has nothing to do with military personnel. I'm kneeling with Kaepernick. This has nothing to do with military personnel. You gotta pay attention. If you got a problem with that knee on the ground, then take offense because I've seen tweets, videos, posts, comments from ex-military personnel and they commend it. But this goes beyond freedom of speech. Well, when did they amend it? You know, freedom of speech is our First Amendment. Maybe that's me going too deep. So, the way blacks are treated should be illegal, like liquor at a speakeasy. Their African-American culture is resilient. They can't beat these. We get pissed off because we treat it like feces. They view us as animals until we become that endangered species. But like Orenthal James said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. And speaking of OJ, That's a situation that still got a lot of people pissed. You know, OJ, the one about the glove, and if it doesn't fit, then you must have quit. So allegedly a black man kills a white chick. People wanted justice quick, and that seems legit, but what about when that script is flipped? Unarmed black man gunned down by a white cop. Where's the justice then? Well, the police felt threatened, so he shot him in the back. At least the story the press is spinning. It's their job to protect and defend. But they say all lives matter, and that's pretend. We yell Black Lives Matter, and that's a sin. But let me get off my soapbox. This isn't news in the slightest. See, blacks keep getting slighted. If America was a novel, we would write it. The white man would steal it, plagiarize it, and be so delighted. But here's the thing. To the book signing, we're all invited. So understand that this is us being calm when we just riot. Because if we truly acted out our emotions, then we'd be violent.
When I came to UTC, I saw like such a close-knit family and how people were so heavily involved, and they were out there encouraging other students to get involved. And I always been this person that was in my shell. I didn't really venture out. So it was like, it was meant for me to be here at UTC, because I don't think I would have became the woman I am today if I didn't come here. To be able to be a transfer student and come in and become the 6th Black homecoming queen, I think it was like really amazing, and it was honestly humbling. Having those people that see you and they're like people that look like you, the ladies in the room, kind of just to use your voice and take the advantage of the opportunities around you. I think it's honorable to come after people that did so much work on campus with the previous homecoming queens, and to be able to step in these same leadership roles that they were in before I got here. I think that's pretty awesome.